And it struck me on the bridge of the nose.
What did you say in response when Miss Heard said, "Tell the world, Johnny, tell them Johnny Depp, I, Johnny Depp, a man, I'm a victim too of domestic violence"?
I said yes.
Then we take a look at a bizarre video of Amber's sister, Whitney, used during Johnny's first trial in the UK. Does Whitney accuse Amber of abusing her?
Oh, thank you. Got into an altercation. I already talked about it. I won't talk about it anymore.
Plus, we examine some of the extremely bizarre and unusual moments during the first 3 weeks of Johnny Depp versus Amber Heard. I'm Vinnie Politan. Great to have you with us tonight on this Friday here on Closing Arguments, and a lot to get through. You know, this trial, so much has transpired in the last 3 weeks down in Fairfax County, Virginia. Just want to take a moment, get a breath, and try to figure out exactly where we are. Now, the biggest moment so far, obviously, was when Johnny Depp took the witness stand to tell his truth. And for Johnny Depp, this could be what the whole trial was about, an opportunity for him to give his side of the story, right? Because the headline that was out there for years, and it was even the perception I had, is that, yeah, all right, Johnny Depp, yeah, you know, as he got older, he became a little bit of a drunk and, you know, beat his wife up. That's what I thought going in. I didn't know all these details, but now the details are coming out. And Johnny Depp said he never really wanted to talk to the media about it because it would always end up being a hit job. And we actually saw all those headlines in the courtroom during the course of this case, all these anti-Johnny Depp headlines through the years, because that's what they do. I mean, once you're at that level, you know, a lot of people want to take you down, and it's just the way things are. No way to explain it. But he had an opportunity to tell his truth to this jury, and it took 4 days, and the jury got to hear some difficult cross-examination. There was a lot of stuff that came out, but in the end, to this point, obviously the biggest moment of the case. But as we get ready for next week, Amber Heard will have an opportunity to tell her truth. And you know, you get a sneak peek through the opening statements, and we know there was a trial in the UK, and we've sort of heard her story indirectly as Johnny Depp was telling his story, and other witnesses have spoken. But it really changes when she gets up on the witness stand, because now it's her chance, on direct, uninterrupted. Nobody jumping in, just tell your story to this jury. And of course, we all believe it's going to be much different than what Johnny Depp said, extremely different. And that's what this case is about, right? He said, she's going to say, and they're going to say different things. And that leaves us to the real question, which is, what is the actual truth? Where does that come from? That's the jury's job. You know, they call them the fact finders. And they say that for a reason, because the jury listens to all the evidence, weighs the evidence. Sometimes they'll hear testimony, see if there's anything that corroborates it. Sometimes they'll just look at a witness and say, do I believe him? Do I believe her? Should I take them at their word, or do I need something else? Or is there something that completely contradicts that evidence? So you're going to have his story, her story, but the jury's got to figure out the truth. And I think one way that you can get a flavor or a feel for what was actually happening in this relationship, because that's really what it's about. It's about a broken, toxic relationship. And to understand the dynamic and to understand how they played off one another is another way for this jury to figure out what the actual truth is. And there is evidence like this for this jury, and they've heard some of it already, where it's just Johnny and Amber alone. Just the two of them together speaking. And I think his testimony was when he would record it, he would tell her, and then his testimony is when she would record it, she wouldn't tell him. So you have to take that into account okay, if they know they're being recorded, are they being themselves or are they not being themselves? But you do, unbelievably, even if one person or both know they're being recorded on these, what we've heard in the courtroom, it really reveals a dynamic between these two. And I think it's important for the jury. And I think it's important for the jury to hear them together and then hear their separate stories and figure out, well, how do those stories jibe with the moments that were captured on the cell phones when they were recording or recording video of Johnny and Amber. So I want to start the show tonight by playing for you one of those recordings. This is after they split up, okay? They've already split and they've come back together. She's already gone down for that protective order. But here it is, Johnny and Amber speaking to one another.
It's been going on too long, Amber. And we just gotta stop this. Just gotta stop it.
I don't know how to get my reputation back.
We write a letter together.
That makes
Saying that we're gonna take this out of the public eye. Saying that we're gonna try and work this out on our own. Saying that the media has created such a hateful storm that it's sickening, that we love each other, and that we want to make sure each other is okay. Have we had fights in the past? Have we had this or whatever? They already know all that. Don't matter. Here's the deal.
no, it matters. You have no idea. Every ounce of my credibility has been taken from. I mean, and done so in a dishonest way. You know.
Amber, the abuse thing is we've got to deal with that. Yeah. We've got to deal with that,
I don't have
Amber.
any way of my credit. It's my credibility. You know what?
And why did you put that out there?
I did not. You forced me. Your team forced me to by going on the offense.
I didn't force you to.
From the very beginning. I promise. Look up the timeline to these things. Everything is. Forget it. Forget it. You don't believe what I say. You don't believe what I say. But I did not choose this. You got every step of the way. It's been an offense.
I did not put this anywhere. I didn't. Let me talk to the team.
I did not call the cops. I gave them no statement.
IO called the
I did
cops.
not call the cops.
You told IO to call the cops.
I did not call the cops, and I did not give them any statement when they came. I've been trying to protect you.
You told IO to call the cops.
When? While it was happening?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry, because the last time that it got crazy between us, I really did think I was going to lose my life, and I thought you would do it on accident. And I told you that. I said, oh my God, I thought the first time.
Amber, I lost a finger, man. Come on. I had a mineral can, a jar of mineral spirits thrown at my nose.
You can please tell people that it was a fair fight and see what the jury and judge think. Tell the world, Johnny. Tell them Johnny Depp. Johnny Depp, man, I'm a victim too of domestic violence, and
yes.
I know it's a fair fight. And see how many people believe or side with you.
It doesn't matter if it's fair fight. My
Exactly, because you're.
Unbelievable. Tell it to a jury. Well, the jury heard that. Let me bring in a special guest joining us tonight in Los Angeles, California, clinical forensic neuropsychologist and associate professor at Pepperdine University, Dr. Judy Ho, back with us. Great to see you, Dr. Judy. Let's take a listen. As we listen to that, what are we hearing? What does it reveal to you? What does it tell us and the jury about this relationship?
Well, the relationship is certainly volatile, but as you can hear in this particular recording, Johnny is being the calmer one in terms of his tone. He's trying to use logic. He's trying to use reason. And I believe that the reason why this tape was played is to show the volatility that sometimes Amber can exhibit in the relationship dynamic. So again, she's the one who's emotional here. She's the one who is blaming him and saying, you're the one who made me do certain things, or your team made me do certain things. And of course, right now, the jury has heard mostly Johnny's side of things. You know, as we start to shift towards Amber's side of the story, we might hear a different version, different recordings. But in this particular one, I think the idea is, look at Amber is the person here who is pushing Johnny. Meanwhile, Johnny is being logical. He's being calm. And she's the one who is still trying to provoke him and trying to essentially get to a part of him that is going to then exhibit more reactive or more negative behavior.
Yeah, I think this one, sitting alone makes him look so much better than she does at this moment. And it's just at that moment. Now, let's take a look at another moment where he doesn't look so good. This is a video. She is recording it, so she knows it's being recorded, but you'll watch partway through, Johnny Depp then realizes he's being recorded. The infamous Mega Pint video. Here we go.
All I did was say sorry.
Did something happen to you this morning? I don't think so.
No, that's the thing.
You want to see crazy? I'll give you That's crazy. Oh, you're crazy. Oh, you're crazy.
Have you drunk this whole thing this morning?
Oh, you got this going? You got this going?
I just started it.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Really? See that?
No, didn't it? You were smashing.
Bye.
Okay, a couple different ways that people are looking at this. On the one hand, Johnny's out of control, and this is an example of abuse. Some people see that. Others look at it and say, wait a minute, she's trying to set him up. She's recording him. And what exactly is going on here? What do you see when you see that video?
Well, I think this confirms a couple of things about the relationship. The couples counselor said that this is a very, very chaotic relationship where both people have their faults. They are both chaotic towards one another. They can both push each other's buttons, and you can see that right here. She is indeed probably pushing his buttons in a way, but also she's the one who's now maybe being the calmer one because she was the one who set up the recording. And I think you can just see that there's a cycle here between these two people. Now, this idea of mutual domestic abuse is not really something that most of domestic violence experts would say is common. It's more rare, where truly there's two people going at each other, and it's not that one person's the primary aggressor in an abusive relationship and they're just making the other person feel like it's their fault, because that is a very usual dynamic when there's one primary aggressor. But I think from what we're seeing so far, there could be an argument here made for a mutual domestic violent relationship.
Okay, I've got another audio recording. Yeah, it's an unknown date here, but Amber is crying or talking about crying in her room. This is, again, talking about another one of their blow-ups, another one of their fights. Let's listen to this back and forth between Johnny and Amber.
I up and crying in my bedroom after I had dumped you a week prior. Week prior, after you beat out of me, and then a week later you show up at my doorstep in my room saying you want to say goodbye. Okay, say goodbye.
Oh, I said it?
Yes, you did say it. I'll go to the text messages so that we're clear on the tape.
Yes, you'd said it before to me.
Okay, no doubt, but you did not say you're going to come over to say bye.
I made a huge mistake.
You didn't say that to me. You didn't say that to me?
Well, I won't do it again.
What's the mistake then? Did you or did you not say you're coming over to say bye?
To me, it almost sounds like they both may have been having some wine before this conversation.
Right. Neither of them sound really that clear or cognizant. And unfortunately, as I'm watching their reactions, listening to this audio, I mean, that is what's really sad about the situation, right? They're kind of replaying the worst moments of their relationship out in this public sphere. And I think both of them probably have some regrets about how all of this went down. But sometimes when you're in the moment, you feel justified for whatever you said, for whatever you did. And later on, when you're more calm and collected, you look back and you say, why did I say that? Why did I do that? Unfortunately, now they're having to reflect this all in the public eye as opposed to in the privacy of a counselor's office or maybe in the privacy of their homes.
Yeah, but again, we can never forget, though, Johnny Depp wanted all of this public. He brought the case, so there's a reason why he wants it all out there. One more, and this is what I call the secret reconciliation meeting that takes place in July of 2016 in a San Francisco hotel. Let's listen to this one.
And please do not cut your skin. Please don't. Why would I do that?
It's easy.
Don't. Please do not do that. Please do not do that. Please don't. Please don't cut yourself. You don't need to cut yourself.
I need to do what I want.
I know it hurts. I feel the same.
Tell me. I want your mark.
You have.
No, you don't.
You have it.
They're gone. No, thank you. No, thank you. There's sperm on the pillows. Come here. If you don't, I will. Come here. Well, Spitzer won't answer this because he's a conservative.
Don't. Please don't. Don't cut yourself. Please don't cut yourself.
Cut.
Please don't cut yourself. Please, I know it
You
hurts.
do it.
I would never cut you.
Come here.
I would never do that to you.
This exchange, and Johnny Depp testified about it, that he's saying, cut me, you know, you're taking everything, taking my blood, that's all that I have left. But the question I have for you is about someone who is, and you know, we go back to the finger incident as well. If in fact Johnny Depp is the one that mutilated his own finger or is attempting to cut himself here, what does that tell us? If someone in this volatile relationship is hurting themselves, I'm saying if, does that make them more likely, less likely of abusing the other person?
Well, in some cases, when the person is more prone to self-harm, and if that is happening here, sometimes that can be utilized as a way to manipulate the partner. Look what you do to me. Look what you forced me to do. Now I have to hurt myself in order just to feel sane in this relationship. And I have certainly seen that in very chaotic relationships where that's basically used as a way to get that person to be more committed to you again, to garner sympathy, to garner love. And sometimes people will even threaten suicide and other forms of more serious self-harm. And of course, we don't know if that's what's going on here, but that kind of dynamic does exist in relationships where they basically play off of one another because there may be some fear of abandonment. And when that happens, one partner or the other might utilize this as almost a way to bring the partner back in.
All right, Dr. Judy Ho is going to stay with us. When we come back, we're going to talk about, you know, this is a case about defamation. I mean, Johnny Depp is supposed to prove that Amber Heard lied about him abusing her. But a lot of his case has been focused on allegations that she abused him. So we're going to walk through those allegations to see exactly what the evidence is and how it stacks up. Don't go anywhere.
Free at SmileDirectClub.com.
What I noticed right away was most of these marks and most of these things through my training is happening in the left-hand side of his face. And it would be scratches on his neck, maybe a fat lip in the corner, maybe a bruising on the eye socket. Dull impacts, you know, except for obviously the scratches, maybe on below his left ear. Sometimes it'd be two marks, 2 lines, 2 trams, 1. Yeah, you know, yeah. And it was getting more regular. As I say, not every week, but it was definitely happening, yeah.
That was Johnny Depp's bodyguard. And right now I want to focus our conversation not so much on did Johnny abuse Amber, but something else that came up during Johnny Depp's case, which is did Amber abuse Johnny and physically assault him? There was something that happened when they were on the Orient Express. No one got murdered, right? But was there domestic violence on the Orient Express? Was Johnny Depp assaulted on the Orient Express? Let's take a listen.
This picture is Miss Heard and Johnny's honeymoon on the Orient Express on the East Line from Bangkok to Singapore. You travel through Malaysia. Like I said, on the left-hand side under his eye, there's a swelling. And you see a swelling just on the left-hand side of his nose and under his left eye.
All right, so how significant is all of this and what's going on in this relationship? Still with us, clinical forensic neuropsychologist and associate professor at Pepperdine University, Dr. Judy Ho. Also joining us now in Woodlands, California, trial and celebrity attorney Chris Melcher. And joining us by phone in New York City, I don't know if he's in the witness relocation program, but entertainment attorney and founding and managing partner of the Romano Law, Dominic Romano is with us. Dom, great to have you back. Great to have everyone here. Let's talk about this Johnny Depp as a potential victim in all of this. Chris, it's a he said, she said, but he's saying that she's beating up him.
Well, yeah, Vinny, that's been most of the case is about the abuse that he claims that Amber committed against him. And he's brought in multiple witnesses now who have testified. And that's a key part of his case, to show that she's a dominant aggressor, to show that this was a violent relationship that they were in. And if these things are true about cutting off the finger by throwing a vodka bottle at him and throwing a can of mineral spirits at his face, punching him with a roundhouse, you know, that would have landed her in jail. And so this is important evidence to show that she placed herself in a false light in that op-ed.
Dominic Romano, entertainment attorney, let me ask you, if in fact people, and I say people, I mean the public, I mean maybe Hollywood executives, people in the entertainment industry, all of a sudden take a second look at Johnny Depp's life and who he is and realize, wait a minute, he was a victim here. He was a victim. Regardless of what the jury says in this case, is that a game changer for Johnny Depp at this stage of his career, his life?
Short answer, no. This is reminds me of the boomerang that can happen with the Streisand effect, right? An attempt to counter or an attempt to suppress what may or may not be true, in this case, creates an even bigger wrong. It's a Pyrrhic victory. So sometimes, even when you win, you lose. So, as you know, the ultimate defense to a defamation claim is truth. And so even if she can show that at some point, somehow, whether it was mutual violent control, whether they were both violent towards each other, or whether it was unilateral in either way, if he did anything, you know, if some modicum of truth can be shown in defense, then he might not prevail. And even if he does prevail, all the dirty laundry that comes out in the process of bringing a case like this can have a torpedoing effect on someone's career. He feels, according to his closing statement, that he felt this necessary, that he had no other choice, given the current environment, to defend himself against untrue of these alleged allegations. But unfortunately, in cases like this, even when you win, you lose.
Dr. Judy Ho, there's, you know, before Me Too and before we really are paring down, you know, in this case, we're talking about different types of abuse, et cetera. There was battered women, right? And there was this cliche, right? That the man would come in, often drunk, his wife, his spouse cowering in the corner, and she was a battered woman. And we understood what that was. Let's apply that to this situation. Does this situation paint a picture to you of Amber Heard being a battered woman, or is it something different?
I think the picture is emerging that it might be something different. And I think when we think about this battered woman syndrome, and again, this term is also somewhat divisive sometimes depending on who is using it and utilizing it to make a point, we're really talking about a one-sided abuse, that there is a primary aggressor and that primary aggressor controls all of the dynamics in the relationship. Certainly, I think that there was a possibility that Johnny could have been seen like somebody who is doing this because of the fact that he has more powers, he has more money, et cetera. But that is not the only ways to control somebody in a relationship. And I think now we can see, at least from some of the evidence that's emerging from Johnny's camp, that Amber can be manipulative, for example. She has ways to get Johnny to react to her, to bring out maybe the worst parts of Johnny, the parts of him that, you know, haven't been dealt with, maybe some deep-rooted trauma that he hasn't dealt with. And I think that this is a picture that's emerging that's more likely a mutual abuse scenario where both people are reacting to one another and both people know how to dig. They know what each other's buttons are and they're pushing them and add alcohol.
Let me ask you something, Dr. Judy Ho, because this gets to another question. I hate cutting you off, but I need to know. I need to know. Is there something intoxicating about being in a relationship like that for people that come from a certain perspective, that they need that extra drama in the relationship, that it adds some level of adrenaline or, for lack of a better word, spice to everything?
Well, it's a really good question, Vinny. And I think what Dr. Curry, the psychologist who Johnny's camp hired, testified to was that perhaps there's something in Amber's personality traits that sort of has this chaotic nature, that kind of is drawn to that chaotic nature. With Johnny, though, it's a different thing. He grew up in a chaotic household with trauma and abuse of his own. And sometimes people are attracted to that unconsciously because the familiar is sadly safer than the unfamiliar for people who have been through trauma. And you can see this as a trauma response. And so I think there's two sides here where both people might be drawn to chaos in perhaps different ways.
That makes some sense to me. That makes some sense because they chose to be together and they had these problems before they exchanged vows. Still don't understand that. All right, everyone staying with us. When we come back, we've got to talk about Amber Heard's sister, Whitney. There is this video from a poolside, and I don't know. Some people are reading this video as saying that Amber was abusing her sister. It was used in evidence over the UK. We'll show it to you when we come back.
NUZZLE.com.
You testified previously that you observed Ms. Heard be verbally abusive to her sister.
Yes.
What do you recall about that?
It was ongoing kick the dog kind of relationship with her sister. So it's really hard to pinpoint any specifics, but her poor sister was treated like the dog that you kick, basically.
Wow. That was Amber Heard's assistant describing the relationship that Amber Heard had with her sister, Whitney. Now, Whitney's on the witness list. We expect her to testify. She's in the middle of a lot of this stuff. But we have this video I want to show you. It looks like it might be from like a reality show pilot or something. It's Whitney, Amber's sister, and a bunch of friends sitting poolside, and they're having a conversation. And it seems like they're talking about Whitney potentially being abused by Amber. Take a listen.
You do it.
I don't want to be killed.
Did you get in a fight or something?
Oh, thank you. Got into an altercation. I already talked about it. I don't want to talk about it anymore.
I can't believe Amber beat your ass. I know you could beat her ass.
We're not going to talk about that.
Whitney, truth or dare? Okay, did you really start the fight with your sister, or did she start it? For real, for real, for real.
We're not going to talk about that.
She really did whoop your butt.
Oh, we're not talking about it.
Yeah, I'm done. I guess I'm done talking about it.
I want to watch that again. And you saw at the end who Whitney is. This is really kind of, and this was used, again, as evidence in the UK. Johnny Depp's team brought it in. Let's watch it one more time.
You do it.
I don't want to be killed.
Did you get in a fight or something?
Oh, thank you. Got into an altercation. I already talked about it. I don't want to talk about it anymore.
I can't believe Amber beat your ass. I know you could beat her ass.
We're not going to talk about that.
Whitney, truth or dare? Okay, did you really start the fight with your sister, or did she start it? For real, for real, for real.
We're not going to talk about that.
She really did whoop your butt.
Oh, we're not talking about it.
Yeah, I'm done. I guess I'm done talking about it.
Let's bring back in our guests, Dr. Judy Ho, Chris Melcher, Dominic Romano. Chris, what are your thoughts about this poolside video? Plus, on top, you've got testimony from the assistant talking about the nature of this relationship. And what does it tell us about what this trial is all about, which is the relationship between Johnny and Amber?
Yeah, I don't know how that got into the English case, and I don't know if we'll see it here, because the instances of other abuse or fights between Amber and her sister don't seem to be important here. There was an incident where the sister was between the parties and Johnny said he was hit, but Amber admits that she hit him. It's just the severity of the hit that's at issue. So I don't know if we're going to see this or not in the current trial.
Dominic, your thoughts about this strange video of Amber's sister?
Honestly, not sure what to make of it. I don't know how much it helps.
Dr. Judy Ho, does it reveal anything to you?
I think, again, the picture that is emerging, and I think there's multiple strands of evidence coming together, is sort of, again, this picture of Amber as a chaotic person. This is maybe not just to Johnny, but maybe she is abusive to all people in her life, other family members. Chaos is sort of the way that she lives. Obviously, when she gets on the stand, that's going to be a big moment because she's going to get to explain herself in all of these different ways. But as all of these things are being played out in the public, I think it's showing that the public is saying we're on Johnny's side. There could be a lot of different reasons for that, but it does seem like the public's opinion is, hey, we're with Johnny because we can see that Amber might be a volatile person. Now, once we hear from Amber, we're going to really be able to have an even playing field here. But because we haven't yet, this is all sort of just her watching herself, having these video clips, having all these other things surface on the internet about her that isn't really very pretty right now.
Okay, let's go to what Chris mentioned, which was the incident on the staircase. Evidence in this case, a significant event, and I think Whitney, Amber's sister, will testify about this, as will Amber, and Johnny already did. Let's take a listen.
We were in penthouse 5 area, which was where Ms. Heard had her office at the top of the stairs. And so the stairs came down, and then there was a landing, and then another set of stairs went down the opposite direction. This took place on the landing, where she was coming out, trying to get to me, trying to hit me, trying to do anything she could. And then Whitney, her sister, was there who stepped in the way. Whitney stepped in front of Amber and was facing Amber to stop Amber. And when she was in between us, Amber snuck in she got the roundhouse in and just nailed me on the cheekbone.
He was about to push my sister down the stairs. She was attempting to break us up. I am protective over my baby sister. When he laid hands on her, I don't know what I did, but I know I jumped in between the actions that I saw could lead to a fatal injury to my sister. She was standing on the top of a flight of stairs, and she has never hurt anyone in her life, and she does not deserve to be pushed down the flight of stairs. And it looked like she was about to be. And I would have done what anybody who has a child or a sister would have done. I acted defensively in her life. I saw her standing on top of a flight of stairs and trying to interrupt a fight in between him and I. I don't know what part of my body I put in between me and him and her. But I would have done anything. I would have done anything to prevent her from being pushed down a flight of stairs.
All right. Dominic, do you think Johnny is going to push Whitney down the stairs? Or do you think it's Johnny's version sounds more reasonable?
Not sure who the jury is going to believe here, but I know the net effect is not a positive one.
What do you mean?
I just don't know here the believability factor. If this is brought in, who the jury is going to believe.
Chris Melcher, what are your thoughts about this incident?
Vinny,
this is a big incident.
Yeah, just looking at those clips, Johnny, when he describes it, he's calm, he's collected, he's, measured. When Amber's describing that incident, you could see the aggression in her face and the way she was communicating. I mean, it is not a good defense for her to act that way. And if she does that on the stand next week, it toasts her case. I mean, the worst thing you can do when you're accused of being an aggressor is to act aggressively. And in that, she looked really mean.
All right. Thank you all. What a great job tonight. Dr. Judy Ho, Chris Melcher, Dominic Romano. Dominic, next time we'll get your video all hooked up. Sorry about that. But wow, thank you for joining us on this Friday night. We'll see you again soon. Have a great weekend. When we come back, folks, this trial's been unlike any trial we've seen, right? On Court TV. I'm going to take a look at some of the more unusual moments in this very unusual case.
at manscaped.com.
For so many reasons, this trial's been unlike anything we've ever covered on court TV. Number one, it's not a criminal case, but you know the allegations of domestic violence are criminal in nature. It's a defamation case, but everyone's testifying. There's a lot of things, though, that are happening sort of during the course of all this that we also don't normally see, like videotaped depositions and evidence, and you've got Alejandro Romero, who is being deposed and is giving sworn testimony from his car while he vapes and then drives off. Take a look.
I want to try to move along. So the incident was May 21st, 2016. You saw her the night of May 25th, correct?
Correct.
You said that you saw Amber Heard hundreds of times while she was there. Did Amber Heard treat you well, and was she friendly to you in each of these hundreds of times?
Yes. I'm not going to say no because she was really always nice.
All right, this is my last.
Be nice.
All right, this is my last question. You testified in response to Mr. Presidio's questions that you testified truthfully in all of these occasions. Did you testify truthfully to everything that you testified in response to my questions today?
That's correct.
All right.
I did.
Well, it should be the last question, right? I mean, he's literally driving away. He's driving while being deposed in sworn testimony that's now being used in court. I've never seen it before. I know the world has changed since COVID, but wow, this is something else. All right, something else that's been a big headline is the alpacas. The alpacas. I mean, I never even saw an alpaca before this trial, but apparently it's a thing. Take a look on Alpaca Day as Johnny Depp departs.
It's Alpaca Day.
You also have people screaming for the litigants. You don't have that in most trials either. But let's take a look. So I think we have the alpacas. Our Court TV cameras caught up with the alpacas. There they are doing their, I think that was a one-on-one interview. No, it was a one-on-two interview. There's two alpacas there. Amazing. But they've been there on multiple days to support Johnny Depp. Not something you see in most of the cases that we cover here on your Front Row Seat to Justice. There was also another moment, very unusual. A lot of people talked about it for a lot of different reasons, and it involves one of the seven dwarves. Take a listen.
When I came back downstairs, she was on the phone with Io Tillett, right, and they were making a wonderful point of just how funny it was that I thought that some human being had actually dropped a grumpy, pardon the term, onto the bed, and they were yucking it up. They were laughing about the whole thing.
Well, that testimony took on a life of its own, right? If the jury believes that Amber did that and left it there for him, that's one thing that is completely unusual. But it also struck me, like, pardon the use of the term. I've never heard of that term. I don't know if it's a thing or not, but my guess is after this trial, it will be a thing. So if, let me know on social media, by the way, if you've ever heard that term for that thing that was just described by Johnny Depp. But that's a big moment because of the image that's created in the mind of the jury as Johnny Depp talks about what he believed happened in his bed. Finally, and this is, again, gets back to, yeah, he's a big celebrity, Johnny Depp is. And you feel that when you're in the courtroom. But I was in the courtroom when Johnny Depp was leaving one day, and this is something I've never seen before, where he acknowledges the fans who are in the gallery on his way out, and before he leaves, there you see him this is at the end of the day. He's about to walk out. You see the gallery stays because they're not going to leave until Johnny Depp leaves, and it's mostly women. But you see, he gives a wave, and then everybody in the crowd, not everybody, but all the fans, I mean, the majority of the people then wave. I've never seen that in a courtroom where everyone waves goodbye to one of the litigants as they leave the room. But that, again, is what is making this case so different, so unusual. And we're not done yet. We're getting close to about halfway through this trial, but I don't even think we're halfway done. We're about halfway done with this show. When we come back, top of the next hour, next week, big week. Amber Heard, expected to take the stand. We will preview some of her testimony. What is she going to talk about? How important is it? We'll bring in our think tank. Does she have to win the case on the witness stand? Is that what it's going to come down to for Amber Heard? We'll talk about it when we come back. In Fairfax County, Virginia, Johnny Depp is suing his ex Amber Heard for defamation after she spoke about being a survivor of domestic violence in a Washington Post op-ed.
Ms. Heard brought these disturbing criminal acts against me that were not based in any species of truth.
Johnny's testimony is over, but Amber is now expected to testify next week. What will she say? And can she win the credibility battle inside the courtroom?
One time, Johnny was hitting me, and he was hitting me hard and repeatedly. And I was screaming. Security walks in, and they don't do anything about it.
Plus, we take a listen to the truly independent witnesses in this case. What does their testimony prove?
A lot of things trigger her, and if she's triggered, she would hit him first.
Plus, everyone is talking about this trial, including Howard Stern, who has been critical of Johnny Depp, and Joe Rogan, who has questioned Amber Heard's motives. Which celebrity is getting it right? Howard Stern or Joe Rogan? Buckle your seatbelts. This hour of closing arguments starts right now. I'm Vinnie Politan. Thanks so much for joining us tonight here on Closing Arguments. And the week is ended. Next week, another big week in the case of Johnny Depp versus Amber Heard, because we expect Johnny Depp's case to sort of wrap up, finish his case, and then it's Amber Heard's turn to present evidence. And everyone is expecting Amber Heard to be witness number one. So, how will she testify? What will she say? We're going to go through all of that right now. And she has testified before. She testified in the UK trial. We don't have video of that. It's the UK. They don't let cameras in the courtroom, but they do put wigs on the lawyers. How backwards is that, by the way? No cameras, but everyone puts on a wig. That's probably why they don't have cameras, so you don't see the wigs. That's just my guess, all right? But there were cameras in the deposition of Amber Heard back in 2016. I'm going to play a piece of that for you so you get an idea for what she has said and how she is when she's being questioned. Take a look.
Did you ever tell any officers at your house on May 21, 2016 that Johnny Depp had ever done anything wrong to you, that night or before?
You're asking me if I've told them?
If you told them on May 21, yes.
Again, I said to them, I decline to give any statement at this time as per the advice of my counsel. They did make a comment to me about it seeming unsafe. That's why they needed to check the apartment. They made a gesture to my face. They said that I looked hurt. They also pulled me aside and said, look, just say a statement. We can make sure you're safe. Just say a statement or give us a statement and we'll go get the guy. And they said the exact same thing to Josh.
Is it your testimony that a police officer on May 21 told you that it appeared you looked hurt?
He or she gestured, I can't remember which one, to my face and said, we can tell you've been hurt or you don't look good or something to that effect, but I don't remember the exact words they used.
But something to that effect?
Yeah. One time, Johnny was hitting me, and he was hitting me hard and repeatedly, and I was screaming. Security walks in, and they don't do anything about it. And he makes this motion when Jerry Judge yells boss, or Sean, I can't remember who it was. And all we had was a little bit of separation, and my sister runs down the stairs. We're on a landing in between two flights of stairs.
Ms. Heard, I must interrupt you because I've asked you a yes or no question.
Withdraw your question then, because she's answering.
Ms. Heard, prior to today's date, At any time have you ever hit Johnny Depp?
Answer however you wish. You've already asked, and she's already answered, and you interrupted her.
Ms. Hurd, have you ever hit Johnny Depp prior to today?
Objection, Vegas to time.
Everyone on this side of the room, please.
Objection 352. It's not relevant to the domestic violence proceeding.
Overruled.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Answer it however you want to, including the way you were just.
I'm asking for a yes or no answer.
You don't have to answer it the way she wants you to answer it.
He was about to push my sister down the stairs. She was attempting to break us up. I am protective over my baby sister. When he laid hands on her, I don't know what I did, but I know I jumped in between the actions that I saw could lead to a fatal injury to my sister. She was standing on the top of a flight of stairs, and she has never hurt anyone in her life, and she does not deserve to be pushed down the flight of stairs. And it looked like she was about to be. And I would have done what anybody who has a child or a sister would have done. I acted defensively in her life. I saw her standing on top of a flight of stairs and trying to interrupt a fight in between him and I. I don't know what part of my body I put in between me and him and her. But I would have done anything. I would have done anything to prevent her from being pushed down a flight of stairs.
Intense, right? I mean, and we don't see everyone else in the room, but it sounds like there's a whole bunch of lawyers there, right? Objection, but you saw the testimony. You saw the intensity of Amber Heard. Now, that is 6 years ago, but she's going to take the stand again. And what should we make of how we think she will perform on the witness stand, what her demeanor will be like? Let's bring in our think tank. Joining us tonight in New York City, former senior homicide prosecutor Bernardo Villalona. In San Diego, California, criminal defense attorney, former prosecutor Brian Watkins. You can contact him at brianwatkinslaw.com. And in Staten Island, New York, former prosecutor Jonah Luzzi. Great to see everyone tonight. Bernardo, what'd you think of Amber?
Vinnie, what is the jury going to think about Amber? They've heard so much dirt about Amber, about her mental stability, about her prior bad acts, about how she's not stable, about how she leaves poop on people's bed. There's so much that this jury has heard that it's going to be hard for when Amber gets up on the stand for them to give her a clean slate and be able to listen to her testimony with an open mind. What are we going to hear from this woman? Is she going to come back with the same story about the May 2016 incident? I highly doubt it, because guess what? Those cops have already testified and discredited her version of what she said in that deposition. So, Amber, what do you have for the people?
Brian Watkins, what did you think of her demeanor?
You know, the lawyer did a great job. It looked like she was going to hit the lawyer, and that's what you want. You know, you want to get someone angry. You want to let the jury see her temper, how volatile she is, how emotional she is. And she's angry at the lawyer. All the lawyer's doing is asking questions. How angry did she get at Johnny Depp in an emotional, relationship type, heart involved fight? She gets this angry at a lawyer. I don't know. I'm scared of her.
Jonah Luzzi, I look at her in the courtroom now, 6 years older. She's not old. She's just 6 years older than she was in that deposition. Do you think we're going to see a different person on the witness stand than we saw being deposed?
I think that she's going to start off as a calm, rational sounding person. She's going to be calm. And at times I think that she'll even be somewhat, very calm to the point of unemotional. And then I think she's going to rise to the occasion. Vinnie, I think once she's cross-examined, the fire is going to come out, and she is going to show the emotion that she felt at the time the events unfolded. Now, that can go one of two ways, right? Either she will look like she is a anger-driven person, or she's going to come off as genuine and show raw emotion that the jury will relate to. I think that it's a matter of preparation for her, controlling her emotions to some extent, and then showing a little bit of herself, her inner self, to the jury.
Bernardo, what did we just see in that deposition? Did we see was that a victim, or was that something else? Because that's what this trial is about.
Vinny, and as you're giving me that question, I'm still thinking about all the testimony I heard from Depp's camp. So it's hard for me to give a clean perspective of what we see. However, I would tell you this. I don't like her attitude in that deposition. I don't like how she's sitting. I don't like how she's putting her head to the side. She's rolling her eyes. She's giving a lot of vocals. It's just too much going on there. Do I see a victim? I'm thinking about a gold digger.
All right. Now, Brian Watkins, I want you to take a listen to this, because in the opening statement, there was a description of a horrific attack by Johnny Depp on Amber Heard by her attorney in the opening statement. So I've got to presume that we're going to hear testimony about it, because we really haven't heard this version yet. Let's take a listen to the opening statement by Amber's attorney.
As you go through those 3 days of Australia, some pretty horrendous things happen to her. He rips off her nightgown. He has her jammed up against a bar. He has hurled bottles and bottles at her. He has dragged her across the floor on the broken bottles and the liquor. He has punched her. He has kicked her. He tells her he's going to kill her. He hates her. He's pounding at her, pounding her. And then he penetrates her with a liquor bottle. That's the Johnny Depp that you're going to hear about in this case.
Brian, I would expect that she is going to testify about that.
He oversold it. You know, where are the injuries being dragged over liquor bottles? I want to see the emergency room reports. I want to see the stitches. I want to see the doctor's reports. He oversold that. She went through all that, and there's no medical reports to back that up. You know, when you cash your check and you don't have enough money in the bank, there's a problem. And he wrote a big check with that, and I don't think he's going to have enough money in the bank. It's going to be a problem.
Joan Aluzzi, through the years, you've represented so many victims of attacks as similar to what was just described there. What would you expect this testimony to be like, and what sort of supporting evidence would there be for this type of an attack?
Well, obviously there are no eyewitnesses to this attack, Vinny, but you know, one would expect to see some medical records, especially if she was penetrated by a large liquor bottle. Having said that, that doesn't necessarily mean there's going to be a great deal of injury. It depends on that second, on that moment that you're dragged across something, whether or not it catches a part of your skin or not. And it depends on how far that liquor bottle was actually penetrated inside of her to determine whether or not there was damage. So could it be true? It could be true. At this moment, does it fly in the face of common sense? Sort of. I think we'd have to wait to play it out. I want to say this, though. Yesterday, when his security persons both testified, I was so unimpressed with them. To me, they not only were loyal to him, they're actually enamored with him. And I don't believe a word they say, even if they were telling the truth about what she was saying and what she was doing and what he was saying and he was doing, because they appeared to be protecting him at all costs. So even if somebody walked into them in one of those incidents in Australia, one of these two men, I don't necessarily believe that they would tell you the truth about his bad behavior.
Bernarda, this is a 3-day attack, a 3-day bender is the way it was described. She's going to have to fill in all the details here, because nothing has come out about it yet. We know about the finger incident down in Australia, but this other 3-day bender where she is being held against her will and sexually assaulted, she is the one who's going to have to describe all of this and have the jury believe it.
Exactly. She's the only witness so far of what we know that can supposedly bring this evidence in front of the jury. So just because you said it doesn't mean that it happened. Not only do you have to say it, you have to come off believable. You have to come off credible, and especially since there's no corroboration. But we'll wait and see. Amber hasn't put up her case yet. All we've heard is what she expects to show during an opening statement. Let's see if she can back it up with some evidence and some receipts.
Okay, let's listen to Amber's attorney in her opening statement describing another incident.
Amber thought he was making a joke when he was talking about it, and she laughed. And he up and slapped her. Now, you see the rings that Mr. Depp has on him hurts when he slaps. And she was stunned. She had no idea what to think. And she kind of laughed, thinking, well, maybe that was a joke. What just happened? And he slapped her again. And then she just froze and just looked. And then he hit her again, and this time it knocked her right off the sofa onto the ground. And she remembers her face was in this dirty, filthy carpet. That's what she remembers and fixated on, the dirty carpet. And she's thinking, oh my God, I have to leave. I have to leave. But I love him.
Brian, she's describing another brutal attack here.
There is no such thing as a brutal attack that doesn't leave injuries. The definition of a brutal attack is an attack that injures someone and hurts them. He's not slapping someone so hard that her whole body is lifted up off of a couch onto the ground with rings on his finger, and she's not suffering some serious marks, some serious injuries, a swollen cheek, a cut eye, or something to that effect. And you don't have any physical evidence to back this up, but it's all just what she testifies to, and she doesn't have the injuries that you would expect. She loses credibility with me. You know, she loses absolute credibility with me. So I think she's going to have a problem there if she doesn't come in with some serious, hard evidence, such as medical records.
Joan, the other part is one of the witnesses that Johnny Depp's team put up there was a psychologist who evaluated Amber Heard and came to the conclusion of a borderline personality disorder, histrionic personality disorder, and the jury has heard that. Chanley Painter was in the courtroom. They were taking a lot of notes during that part of the testimony. So how do you think that will impact the way they evaluate and listen to Amber Heard as the first witness in her case?
Well, if the jury accepted everything that the psychologist said and her results, obviously it's going to color Amber's testimony in front of this jury. It would be curious to know whether or not she was observed immediately after these assaults, not only for recorded injuries, but her affect, her demeanor. Was she genuinely scared of him? Was she panic-stricken? Was she sobbing? Was she crying? Was she, was she beside herself? Did she start doing things in her life that were consistent with somebody who needed to get away from their marriage? And I'm assuming that her team has that available to them, and will put that evidence up after she testifies.
It wasn't until the end that police were finally called, Bernarda, and police were called by her friend or friends. I think there was one that was there, another friend who found out about it, called LAPD from New York. But the fact that all these things are happening and there's no law enforcement, that doesn't necessarily mean they didn't happen, right? Because a lot of times domestic violence is happening behind closed doors, and unfortunately it gets very dangerous, whether it's Amber abusing Johnny or Johnny abusing Amber or them abusing one another. Sometimes police are never there because someone's got to pick up the phone to call them.
Exactly. And domestic violence is a very serious issue, and a very dangerous one, because I would say from being a prosecutor, one of the cases that you used to always keep attentive of how your victim, your complainant is doing, are domestic violence cases. Because with domestic violence cases, number one, statistics shows that a person is battered multiple times before they decide to call police for the first time. And even when they call police, statistics say that they always return to their abuser a few times before they finally decide that they want to end the relationship. So just because the police wasn't called doesn't necessarily mean that such an incident just didn't take place. But the issue with domestic violence also, what makes it so scary, is because it's behind closed doors, where other people are not watching, they're not listening. Unless things get so crazy, you get a neighbor who actually calls 911. So much goes on with domestic violence that I think we definitely need to look into it. And when I look at this case, it disappoints me, because if Amber Heard is lying, this is exactly why so many people do not believe domestic violence victims.
And when you have your own island, there are no neighbors to call 911. which is another part of this. Okay, so obviously the testimony of Johnny Depp, Amber Heard is going to be very different. Someone's not telling the truth, or both of them may be shading the truth, or maybe they remember it different, whatever. There have been a bunch of witnesses who have testified, but many of them during Johnny Depp's case are people who are very closely connected to him, people that he literally pays and work for him, people like his best friend who he gave a penthouse to. But there have been a few that I would call truly independent witnesses who have testified so far. When we come back, we'll hear what they said and see how their testimony either helps Johnny Depp, helps Amber Heard, or helps no one. That's next.
Direct Club. When you saw her at the front desk on March 25th, you didn't see any bruising, correct?
Correct.
And you didn't see that, correct?
That's correct. I didn't see any marks or bruises.
You didn't see any swelling either, did you, Mr. Romero?
That's correct. No swelling at all.
And she was only 3 or 4 feet away from you, correct?
Correct.
That's Alejandro Romero, front desk clerk at the building where Amber and Johnny lived, where Johnny owned all those things. But he's not on Johnny's payroll per se. And he's what I believe is one of those independent witnesses in this case. He was vaping there on the side. Did you see that? But he said he saw no injuries on Amber's face. Important testimony in this case because, you know, Johnny doesn't even live in the building anymore. Amber doesn't live there anymore. Take it for what it's worth. Want to play a little more testimony for you of some truly independent witnesses. LAPD who responded when Amber's friends called 911 about an alleged incident. Take a listen to what they had to say about what they saw and what their conclusions were about what was happening.
It's your understanding that you were supposed to be giving that pamphlet to victims of domestic violence on calls, is that correct? Correct. Did you provide a copy of this pamphlet to Amber Heard?
I did not. I did not identify her as a victim of domestic violence.
Do you disagree with my description of what's in this picture?
No, I was stating that I didn't observe that when I was inside the apartment.
Are you able to testify whether Amber Heard was the victim of domestic violence by Mr. Depp on May 21, 2016?
Based on our investigation, it appeared as if she was not.
Let's bring back in our think tank. Brian Watkins, I'll start with you out in California. Should the jury trust the words of the LAPD?
That's a loaded question.
Of course it is.
In this situation, there's no reason not to. You know, I mean, they're out there, they're doing a job. Had she been a victim of domestic violence, they would have filed the proper reports. What difference does it make to them? They're just doing their job in this situation. They have no bone, no dog in this fight, you know, no bone to pick with Johnny Depp or Amber Heard. So there's no reason not to believe them.
Joan Aluzzi, I think this is such an important incident because this is the one that results in Amber Heard going for that protective order. So what do you think about the LAPD and their testimony and what they did not see and did not conclude? And Alejandro Romero down on the front desk not seeing anything.
Well, I believe them that she was not articulating enough evidence for them to arrest anyone or to open a domestic violence investigation. I do believe that. I also think that she was uncooperative. And so they were unable to really make, detailed observations and have at-length conversations with her because she was not cooperative at that time. She really, she didn't call the police. A friend called the police for her. She had an opportunity at that moment to say anything about what he did. And she didn't use that opportunity to ask for charges to be levied against him. So to me, that sort of cuts in her favor in a way. I know she did file for an order of protection later on, and whether or not that was prompting by friends or counsel or what have you. Remember, both of these people have a lot of other voices in their head. And I don't mean just pretend voices. I mean their agents, their friends, their lawyers. And I think that sometimes conflates what is really happening in these instances.
All right, Bernard, I want you to take a listen to, this was an early witness, I think, extremely important. Laurel Anderson, psychologist who actually was a counselor for the couple. And once again, seems to be truly independent in all of this, was counseling the couple. And I think it was actually Amber who found her through a reference. But let's take a listen to some of what she had to say.
He had been well controlled, I think, for almost, 20, 30 years. And both were victims of abuse in their homes, but I thought he had been well controlled for decades. And then with Ms. Heard, he was triggered, and they engaged in what I saw as mutual abuse. Sometimes I know she led on more than one occasion and started it to keep him with her, because abandonment and having him leave was her worst nightmare. And I think he may have initiated it on occasions too. I'm less sure on.
And how did you come to the understanding that on some occasions Ms. Heard physically abused Mr. Depp?
Ms. Heard reported that.
Bernarda, how significant is her testimony, and what does it do in this case?
Vinnie, she said two lines that stick out to me, and that is that I'm less sure of whether Johnny Depp initiated any abuse. Second is when she was asked, well, who gave you this information? It was Amber Heard. So those two lines stick out to me. I'll say this, that in terms of this independent witness again gives more strength to the case of Johnny Depp. If I were a juror on this case, I will focus on the independent witnesses that don't have a dog in this fight and are just given their what evidence they have to give, answering the questions, and all of that leads to strengthening Johnny Depp's case.
Brian Watkins, how complicated is it going to be for this jury to figure out what happened here as fact finders, because you've got completely different stories. You have some of these people in the middle that are privy to certain things but not other things. How do they put all of this together after like 6 or 7 weeks of testimony?
It's very simple, and the lawyers should really do it for them. Don't forget what this is. This isn't a domestic violence case, a criminal case where he's going to be charged or convicted of criminal violence. This is a slander case. And the testimony that we just heard from the doctor makes Donnie Depp lose the case. Why? This is a case where Amber's being sued for lying and saying she knowingly lied and said I was a victim of abuse. She spoke to a doctor, and the doctor said, you guys are mutually abusive, which means Amber received abuse and Donnie Depp received abuse. That statement there, I was a victim of abuse, is technically true. A doctor told me so. So clearly she did not knowingly say a false statement. It's just like if a doctor told me, I heard Vinnie had COVID. Oh, I repeat that. Oh, the doctor told me Vinnie had COVID. Turns out Vinnie didn't have COVID. Doesn't matter. It's not slander. I had a reasonable basis to believe that statement. It wasn't knowingly false. So the doctor is the key.
Discrediting Amber, though. The doctor discredits Amber. So if you discredit and go towards the credibility of Amber, if I can't believe you on one statement, why should I believe anything that's coming out of your mouth? So even though the doctor says that they were mutually abusive, she is still discrediting Amber in the sense of saying Amber started a lot of this. She was the one who initiated a lot of this, where Amber's like, oh, no, I'm the victim here. I never started anything. I didn't physically touch him. The doctor's telling us that. So I think every time that an independent witness gets there and discredits Amber, it goes against her case. In the end, the jury may not find for either one of them because they can't figure it out. But here at this point, she's discredited Amber as well as the police officers. I can't move past the police officers discrediting Amber. I just think that testimony was so strong, especially after we watched the deposition where Amber, just a couple months after this incident, is saying something completely different than what happened based on what the officers testified to.
It doesn't matter who started it. It doesn't matter who started the abuse.
Relationship for both of them. They're toxic. They're toxic together. This is a libel and slander case. They would have to prove that she acted with actual malice against Johnny Depp by saying that she was the victim of domestic violence. Clearly, they both were the victim of domestic violence, and they were both drug-addled at some point, alcohol-addled at some point, and were hurting each other. And so I'm not quite sure that she comes out a loser here and he comes out a winner, but I think it's boiling down to a personality and population contest, a popular contest, instead of the actual legal contest it's supposed to be.
Okay, when we come back, I got to tell you about another big case that we are tracking, and it's coming up really soon. involving celebrity chef Mario Batali. He's the guy with the blue sweater on. That's how you recognize him, right? When he's cooking. Anyhow, there's a big trial cooking up in Massachusetts. We'll tell you about it when we come back.
Download RoboKiller today.
On the docket tonight, a case against Mario Batali. You may recognize him, celebrity chef, entrepreneur, was one of the hosts of the daytime show, The Chew. At one point was involved, he may still be involved, I'm not sure, in a chain of restaurants and food places called Italy. But he's now facing charges up in Massachusetts, and he's got a trial coming up. Indecent assault and battery are the charges. Let me read for you from the incident report what the allegations are against celebrity chef Mario Batali. The victim stated she was at Town Stove and Spirits eating dinner at the bar with a friend, Jonathan Samuels, when she observed Mario Batali sitting to her left a few seats down. She took a photograph of Batali with her cell phone over her shoulder. Batali observed her taking the photograph and said, "Come here right now." The victim stated she went over to apologize for taking the photograph and to tell Batali that she would erase it. Batali told her it was okay and offered to take a selfie with her. She stood next to him and he stayed seated on the bar stool. Batali put his arm around her and grabbed her right breast over her clothing. He grabbed her buttocks, pulling her closer to him. Batali then put his hand in between her legs, touching her groin over her clothing. Using his left hand, Batali held her face, kissing her cheek and mouth. The victim realized Batali was intoxicated by the smell and half-closed eyes. The victim stated she was uncomfortable and it was shocking to her that this was happening. She stopped the selfies even though Batali insisted on taking more and continued pulling on her face. Batali told her he was staying at the Mandarin Oriental and asked if she wanted to join him there. The victim told him no and went back to her friend. Mr. Samuels asked her, "Who was that guy? And why was he being handsy with you?" The victim stated she just wanted to go, and they left the restaurant. And now Mario Batali charged with indecent assault and battery. We've got a trial date coming up, folks. Massachusetts versus Mario Batali. Trial date, May 9th. May 9th. The significance of that date, that is the week that Johnny Depp versus Amber Heard will not be having any court. They're taking 1 week off, and while they're taking that week off, court TV cameras will be inside the courtroom for that case. In the meantime, getting you ready for next week down in Fairfax County, Virginia, Chanley Painter has a look ahead to what's in store.
Week 4 here in Fairfax, Virginia, in the defamation trial of Johnny Depp versus Amber Heard, may be the biggest week of the trial yet. Johnny Depp's case is, of course, winding down, and Amber Heard's defense will be mounted inside this courtroom. Her testimony is expected first and could be a game changer in this trial. But first, Depp's case is expected to call a slew of witnesses on his behalf, including another security guard who observed evidence of alleged abuse perpetrated by Heard onto Depp. And a man named Richard Marks, an entertainment lawyer, will testify in person. Plus, Depp's case will effort to call witnesses to prove damages in the civil trial, including an expert on Q scores, which measure a star's celebrity among consumers, and a CPA will be testifying in person on behalf of Johnny Depp. But as his case comes to a close, we look ahead to what may be Amber's role of a lifetime, telling her story on the witness stand before the entire world. Her case is expected to include experts on mental health and how her career has also been damaged as a result of statements from Depp's team over the years. And of course, while well-known names are on her witness list, like Elon Musk and James Franco, both are likely not to testify. Ella Barkin's testimony is on deck for Amber Heard. It's all coming up here at the epicenter of Johnny Depp and Amber Heard. Reporting in Fairfax, Virginia, I'm Chanley Painter with Court TV.
Big week next week. You know, everyone's talking about this trial. Everyone. When we come back, we're going to talk about two guys who've been talking about this trial. Howard Stern and Joe Rogan, and it seems they're on opposing sides of this case. We'll talk about that and hear from you, our 13th juror, when we return.
Did you have any discussions with Ms. Heard on the way to Coachella that evening?
We had a conversation pertaining to the surprise she left in the boss's bed.
The results of Ms. Heard's evaluation supported 2 diagnoses, borderline personality disorder and histrionic personality disorder.
So it's fair to say that she has not donated $3.5 million as of today to the ACLU, true?
True. Did you provide a copy of this pamphlet to Amber Heard?
I did not. I did not identify her as a victim of domestic violence.
The only person that I have ever abused in my life is myself.
In the 3 weeks that the defamation trial between Johnny Depp and Amber Heard has been going on, some big names and celebrities have begun paying attention and picking sides. Some, like Howard Stern, have watched the trial and Depp's testimony and don't find him to be credible. Take a look at what Stern said on an episode of his SiriusXM radio show, The Howard Stern Show, where he discussed the trial and called Depp a narcissist.
You know, on the narcissism scale, I think Johnny Depp is a huge narcissist. And what I mean by that is he figured, I'll put this on TV. And because I'm so persuasive and I'm so smart and I'm such a wonderful guy,
I'm a great actor. I can act my way through anything. Yeah.
Oh, right. And I'll play you some clips from the Johnny Depp trial. If he isn't acting, I mean, but he's so overacting.
Clearly, Howard Stern not finding Johnny Depp credible, but others do. Take a look at what Joe Rogan had to say about this trial on his podcast, The Joe Rogan Experience.
If he gets $50 million in a settlement, the only good thing is everybody knows now. And this is a good thing. And this is one of the reasons why it's good that he did this. Everyone knows now, like, there's something wrong with her.
Yeah.
Like, there's something wrong.
Right.
Like, there's some sort of, like, mental issue.
There you see, Rogan sees things completely differently than Howard Stern and thinks Amber Heard is the one who's problematic. But what do you think? Tonight, we're asking you, the 13th juror, who do you agree with here? Howard Stern or Joe Rogan? Who's getting it right? We begin with our 13th juror comment of the day. Chrissy, Joe Rogan all the way. She's a wolf in sheep's clothing for sure. She clearly didn't think through how this was going to make her look in the end. Johnny will always be Johnny, but Amber who? Not to mention, I don't see too many men jumping on this bandwagon once this is said and done. Go Johnny. Joe Naluzzi, former prosecutor, how do you think this jury of young men in their 20s are looking at Amber Heard right now?
You know, it's funny because if you look at the gallery, it's all women. Women come out for male stars. Even if men are admiring a female star, not too many men would take off of work to see her in court. And so typically women are harder on women than men are. Mm-hmm. So although we've heard the jury laugh occasionally along with Johnny Depp, I'm not quite sure he's scoring the points he thinks he is with the male jurors.
Terry tonight used to listen to Stern back when he was on regular radio, but he's always had this habit of making snarky comments about people who act just like him. He's been a narcissist forever, so he likes to think he can spot it in other people's personalities. Got to be one to think you know one. Bernarda Villalona, before I ask you about this, can we put a split screen of Bernarda? And I think we're ready for the prom. It's prom season, Bernarda. Are you ready? This is my promposal. We match very well. All right, let's get back to Terry, if you don't mind. The narcissism, did you get that from Johnny Depp on the stand? Johnny Depp in just bringing this case?
Yes, I did. And you know why? And I don't want people to hate me, but hey, you can't make everyone happy. You got to think that to bring this case, yes, Amber Heard has said many negative things about you, but how much more about your private life has been exposed because of this case? And you said, forget that. I don't care. I expose all of that. I want to expose Amber Heard. I want everyone to see her for the person that I see in my mind of who she is and I had to live with. So to think about there was more to lose than to gain and bringing this lawsuit for Johnny Depp, in my opinion, when we're talking about defamation. But he said, forget it. I can control all of this. You're going to hear this.
Claudia tonight. It's too soon to tell, isn't it? We've only heard Depp's side so far, and while I think he's pretty credible, we have to be fair and hear Heard's side as well. And then, as a good 13th juror, I will decide for myself. Claudia, you are way too credible. She'd be a perfect juror. Brian Watkins wants to hear all the evidence, obviously. How do you think jurors do it, though? Because obviously they hear one side first. And does hearing one side taint the other side? Is it a distinct disadvantage to go second?
Yeah, first impressions are hard to get over. And right when you sit down in that courtroom, you get a first impression, you get a feel, because you kind of hear Amber's side through cross-examination, but you're really hearing Johnny's side because he's the one doing the presentation. So yeah, you got to get over that first impression, which is often tough to do. But then again, you come in strong at the end, right before I go to deliberations. The last thing I heard, maybe the last thing I'm thinking about.
That's true. Here's Kathy. Joe is getting it right. Amber used Johnny for everything. And I'll tell you this, and we're out of time, but overwhelmingly people siding with Joe Rogan, who's siding with Johnny. And I don't know if it's because they like Joe Rogan more than Howard Stern, or probably more likely they like Johnny Depp more than Amber Heard. Anyhow, I like all three of you. Thank you for joining us on this Friday night. Bernardo Villolone, Brian Watkins, and Jonah Luzzi. Have a great weekend. We'll be right back.